It's time to rise up, Renegades. I'm Lupine Fiasco. I'm back with more FaB gameplay through the Talishar client. Today we have our first Prism game on the channel. We win the die roll. We are going to choose to go first on the assumption that our Prism is playing an Auras list. Auras do not block, so we would like to take advantage of what is hopefully a bad blocking hand from our Prism to push some damage on turn 0. If we knew for a fact that our Prism was on a Luminaris Heralds focused build, we would want to go second and treat this game like any other aggro matchup. Let's get into our sideboard, take a look at how we will be building our deck. This is the Emberblade list that I showed you all last week. Pretty easy sideboard plan for Prism. We are going to board out our Warmonger's Diplomacies, and we are going to board in our Command and Conquers. The reason for this being that Warmonger's Diplomacy is pretty bad into Prism. All of her important non-attacks are instants, not non-attack actions. So she is free to pick War, play out her entire hand, and hit us with Heralds. Command and Conquer, on the other hand, is a popper. We can block either the first or second Herald. Luminaris Prism gets to give the first Herald go again and attack with the second if she's playing Phantasmal Footsteps. The triggered ability is essentially cheaper Luminaris, so blocking the first Herald to pop it may not be the right call, but blocking the second Herald absolutely could be. Outside of popping, Command and Conquer is a generically good card. It is much better at doing literal anything in this matchup than Warmonger's Diplomacy is. That's the only change we'll be making to the sideboard. Thinking about our game plan into Prism. Auras or Heralds, just hit them hard enough that they lose. Ideally, we are using a Phoenix Flame at the end of the turn to break a Spectra aura. Spectra triggers will end your combat chain without giving you your action point back from go again. So if you have not played against Prism, if you're new to the game, you didn't play against original Prism back in Monarch, be aware that you want to end your turn by breaking Spectra rather than starting your turn that way. But overall, our path to victory in this game is just hitting Prism hard enough that she loses. She has 32 health. That is offset by her Angels effectively being sink below. Keep in mind that many Prisms do not have the Angels as their win condition. The Angels are just there to slow us down. Her plan to win the game through Auras or Heralds is to slow us down long enough that she can hit hard enough with Heralds or Angels that stick around that we lose. Fatigue is not exactly on the table, nor would it work. If it was, FaB is notoriously hard to fatigue, especially when we are playing multiple Flame Call Awakenings and Phoenix Flames in the deck. To win this game, just hit them harder than they hit us. We'll show you how that works now and get back into the game. Game begins. We see from our Prism's weapon choice that we chose incorrectly. We would have liked to go second this game, Luminaris. We can take to mean that Prism is on a primarily Heralds build. We would have liked to block Heralds on Prism's first turn, just like we would want to block any attacks from a traditional aggro deck. Here we are just playing out the hand, deciding based on Prism's blocks whether we want to attempt to Enlighten Strike, draw a card, or Enlighten Strike +2 power. Here I'm going to make a possibly contentious choice to throw E-Strike for 7 with the intention of breaking the wave of reality. I want to open the path for dealing more damage to Prism as the game goes on. I also want to put breaking Spectral Shields on the table for any potential Shuko triggers, which I'll get into in just a minute. It is important to note through this game, and especially on this next turn, Prism on Talishar is currently bugged. What that means is Prism's effect, her activated ability to banish a card from Soul to transform a Figment into an Angel, is a once per turn instant. Prism on Talishar can activate it more than once per turn, which is not the way the hero is supposed to work. Empyrean Rapture is also bugged so that its effect, which is also once per turn, affects any additional activations of Prism. All of this is to say that on this turn, Prism is going to tutor and flip 2 Figments. She should not be able to flip the second Figment. Getting into how we are blocking this game, we mostly aren't. We can. Stopping this Herald of Protection would be a very strong thing for us to do. The Herald hitting is going to generate a Spectral Shield for Prism, and is also going to let her tutor a second Figment this turn. That said, our hand doesn't block well. We can put the Flamescale Furnace and Soulbead Strike in front of the Herald, but then we can't do much for the rest of our turn, and we need to clear this ward off of Prism's side of the board. The best way to clear ward that FaB has available is by abusing the second line of text on Tiger Stripe Shuko. It isn't really relevant all that often that Tiger Stripe Shuko does more than just buff the attack power of our second attack action with base power 2 or less. But against Illusionist, and especially Prism, it's very important. And it is important because Tiger Stripe Shuko says the second attack action card you play with base power 2 or less gets +1 power, and damage it deals can't be prevented. For new players who haven't played much with Shuko, damage that can't be prevented can be blocked, it can be defended from Arsenal with a defense reaction, it can be blocked with equipment, but it is not affected by Oasis Respite, it is not affected by Crown of Seeds or Oldhim's ability, and it is not affected by Ward. So if we were to play a Phoenix Flame on our chain, follow that up with a Lava Burst, the Lava Burst would get the +1 damage and damage can't be prevented clause from Shuko. If Prism cannot defend the Lava Burst with cards from hand or with armor, Lava Burst will attempt to damage Prism. Prism's Spectral Shields and Angels will say, damage is coming, I am going to destroy myself to prevent this damage. And Lava Burst will say, no. So if Prism has 400 Spectral Shields and 400 Angels on the board, Lava Burst will attempt to deal 6 damage. Each of those Spectral Shields and Angels will sequentially destroy themselves, try to prevent the damage, and fail. And at the end of all of this, Prism will take 6 damage. We can use our Mask of the Pouncing Lynx to force the issue. Pouncing Lynx says an attack must hit, and then we can tutor an attack action card with base power 2 or less from our deck. It doesn't need to hit a hero, it just needs to hit. Unlike Spectral Shields, Angels are attackable targets. So in a worst case scenario where we just want to force the issue of a Pouncing Lynx, we can send a Phoenix Flame at an Angel, get the Pouncing Lynx trigger, find a Lava Burst, then attack with the Lava Burst, which gets the Shuko buff and clears any Spectral Shields or Angels from Prism's side of the board. All of this leads us to make a decision of how we're going to sequence this turn. We will play out this hand. Pitch the Soulbead Strike, attack with Spreading Flames, Emberblade, run in Renegade. We can activate FaB to pick up a Phoenix Flame, attack with that, attack with Snatch, and potentially Snapdragon the Snatch to attack with a Pouncing Lynx. And we're going to see how committed Prism is to stopping these attacks. If she has a hand of 3 blocks, she could block the Spreading Flames, the Emberblade, and the Ronin Renegade in order to protect her Spectral Shields and Angels. If she gives her entire hand. In order to stop our 3-power attacks from hitting, we will send a Phoenix Flame at the Angel, trigger Pouncing Links, and use the Lava Burst to clear Prism's damage protection. But if she gives us Spectral Shields, and if she gives us Angels in order to stop this damage, keeping cards in hand, we will save our Pouncing Links. Prism not blocking the Emberblade, but rather using 3 Spectral Shields to prevent the damage, leads us to believe that we will be getting the Angels. Prism interested in keeping her 3 cards. We'll see how committed she is once we present the rest of our turn. But at this point, I am not interested in using Mask of the Pouncing Links. Prism giving us value by spending her Ward 4 to stop our 3-power Run-In Renegade. We'll see if she does the same thing against our 2-power Phoenix Flame. If she blocks this Phoenix Flame from hand, then we will use our Snatch to attack and kill the Angel. That will count as a hit. So we will draw our card, which we can tuck into the arsenal. But we'll see how Prism wants to play out this turn. Note here that the Phoenix Flame is getting the Spreading Flames buff, not the Shuko buff. So Prism will not take damage based on this Phoenix Flame hitting. The Angel is going to sacrifice itself to prevent this damage. But again, that's just value for us. Notably, Prism should not have this Angel. This should still be a Figment. I can't speak to how that changes the outcome of this game. If it would be better or worse for us that Prism didn't have a second Angel that turn, it's just something worth noting. Prism should not have had a second Angel. Throwing the Snatch. The Snatch connecting draws a Spreading Flames. We are not going to snap Pouncing Links this turn. We will just arsenal this Spreading Flames and look for an opportunity to use it. Phantasmaclasm coming in as 3 for 9. Prism gets to look at our hand, choose a card from it, and put that card on the bottom of our deck. We then draw a new card. If this was just 9 damage, we would be very happy to play out our Spreading Flames here and use this entire hand to deal a ton of damage to Prism, likely breaking Mask of the Pouncing Links as well, just to really push the issue. But as it is, she bottoms our Rising Resentment. We draw a Warmonger's Diplomacy. In this game, I had not realized that my sideboard plan was incorrect for Prism. We were still running Warmonger's Diplomacies, not Command and Conquers. I really wish this was a Command and Conquer, as this hand would be significantly better. As it is, we do block with a Warmonger's Diplomacy just to mitigate some damage. We're not so interested in racing Prism that we really want to commit to this Stab Wound. Stab Wound here dealing 2 damage instead of 3, as we will get our Shuko trigger from the Phoenix Flame. Prism showing us an Arclight Sentinel, then undoing the play. That's perfectly fine. That's free information for us. We do now, however, need to take this into consideration as we are planning future turns. Especially with the Spreading Flames in Arsenal, we really want to be sure that we're getting maximum value. We would like to make Prism use the Arclight Sentinel to stop something else, stop a potentially big turn, and then hit her with a Spreading Flames later. It is also good information that Prism is running Arclight Sentinel. I have met Prisms that do not run it against FaB because it can be awkward. It doesn't block. It costs 6 resources. Some Prisms may be better off just racing us, but in this situation, we will need to play around Arclight at some point. For this turn, we will just play it out per normal. We are not looking to break Mask the Pouncing Lynx here, as Prism would have the opportunity to play out her Arclight Sentinel and force us to attack it with a Lava Burst or Assault the Wound. So we will just look to deal some damage while we can. Still not breaking the Pouncing Lynx, and we will finish up with Blaze Headlong for 4. So long as Prism doesn't want to block here, that's fine with me. We will push our damage while we can, so long as we are not giving her a good opportunity to use Arclight. Prism coming in with a 7 power Herald. The on-hit here doesn't exist. Not particularly relevant. It does go into Prism's soul, as all Heralds do. But this is not a Herald of Protection, Herald of Ravages, where we would be inclined to block this somehow. Ode to Wrath coming out of Prism's arsenal. So we can put her on some auras. Here, Herald hitting for 7+1 due to Ode to Wrath, fetching a Herald of Ravages. That is going to deal additional damage when it enters the board. And Prism plus Empyrean, turning it into an Angel to prevent damage. So how do we want to sequence this turn, knowing that Prism has an Arclight Sentinel in Arsenal? This isn't information that we should have, but I am perfectly willing to use this if this was a Calling or a ProQuest, and my opponent had played out an Arclight, then said, hey, let me take that back. That's free information for me. So we will be playing with the knowledge that Prism has an Arclight Sentinel in Arsenal. This being the case, this Phoenix Flame in hand is pretty bad. We are interested in bottoming it. One, just for smoothing out our lines here. Two, because we really want to send this Enlightened Strike for 5 Go Again. And what 5 Go Again does is say, yes, you can pitch 2 cards to play your Arclight Sentinel. You will also need to block with 2 cards to protect this Angel. And I am interested in killing the Angel here. So starting with a 5 power Go Again that does not rely on Snapdragon Scalers really makes Prism question whether she wants to play out the Arclight. It also frees up the rest of our turn. We can play Double Strike, Lava Burst. We maximize damage here without using equipment and presenting an opportunity for Prism to Arclight. We also keep our Pouncing Lynx and our Spreading Flames available. If Prism does use the Arclight, we can take advantage of that information on future turns when we really go ham. So we'll see how Prism wants to defend her Angel, if she wants to Arclight this turn. No blocks on her side of the board, giving us the Angel, taking 1 point of damage. We are still not looking to give her the opportunity to Arclight Sentinel. Prism seemingly committed to not blocking here. She could be looking at relatively few blues. She could be looking at setting up a double Herald turn. Here, choosing whether we want to use Pouncing Lynx. I am becoming more inclined to use Pouncing Lynx as the turn goes on, because if Prism is not using Arclight Sentinel, it leads me to believe that she can't, or it leads me to believe that she wants to keep her cards in order to fuel a bigger turn. So what we're going to do is send our hand at Prism, and now we're going to use equipment. And this may be a mistake. Maybe we wanted to break Pouncing Lynx after the double strike, then use Snapdragons on the finisher we got rather than this Lava Burst, so that we could have at least kept something around in case this plan fails. But Prism choosing not to deploy the Arclight Sentinel here, we break our Snapdragon, we break our Pouncing Lynx, we send a Salt Balloon for 6. Prism can choose to block this, she can choose to go down to 2. It really depends on her hand, on how she wants to play out the rest of this game. We're at 12, we're very easily killable. Ode to Wrath gives natural go again. We have not found an opportunity to clear the Ode to Wrath. That is the downside of running Emberblade into Prism. We don't have an easy line of play out the turn, then end with a Kodachi into the Spectra. Play out the turn, then end with a Phoenix Flame into the Spectra. Here we are often ending our turn on a finisher, which we do not want to send to Spectra. Prism sending Enlightened Strike for 5. This is essentially Enlightened Strike for 6, thanks to Ode to Wrath. With our Spreading Flames in Arsenal, knowing that we must attack the Arclight Sentinel, and that we do not have a way to get an action point back, what we want to do here is just preserve life and set up for a Spreading Flames turn to kill Prism. What that looks like is blocking this Enlightened Strike with Stab Wound and Snatch, prevent the full 5 damage. We do not take one from Ode to Wrath. On our turn, we will be attacking Arclight Sentinel with Emberblade. We're going to pitch Mounting Anger and Art of War. We'd love to keep this Art of War if we could, but we need to kill the Arclight Sentinel, and Mounting Anger is not enough to pay, so what will we be doing instead? Pitching the Art of War that pays for the Emberblade, and we don't particularly want this Mounting Anger. We would like to see 0-cost Draconic attacks. We would like to see blues that pay for the Spreading Flames and any follow-up, and clearing a red out of our hand just increases our chances of that. We don't draw the blue, but we do draw a number of 0-cost attacks. Life for a life here, 4 with go again. That would give Prism an extra point of life if it hits. We are not particularly interested in Prism gaining life. Deciding whether to block with an attack from hand or our Shuko. We do land on the Shuko, as well as blocking with our Flamescale Furnace. We'll definitely need that Furnace to play out the rest of this turn. We want to play our Spreading Flames and pitch to the Furnace if we can. Prism following this with another Life for a Life, gains them 1 life, deals 5 to us thanks to Ode to Wrath. Prism following up with a 7-power Enlightened Strike, and we decide to block with the Lava Burst. We will take 5 points of damage here thanks to the Ode to Wrath, and we get to keep 3 reds in hand, which with the Flamescale Furnace will allow us to present a good amount of damage at Prism. So on our turn, thanks to Furnace, we will get to play out our entire hand. We're going to start with Ronin Renegade here, just to keep our Spreading Flames tucked away in case of another Arclight Sentinel. We don't want to lead with Spreading Flames here. We really want to keep that around in order to win the game on a future turn if we need to. So Ronin Renegade here would take 3 cards from Prism, 2 to pitch to the Arclight and the Arclight itself, as well as a card to block the Ronin. So we throw out the Ronin first just as a means of baiting for Arclight. We don't see it, so we feel good playing out our Spreading Flames here. Pitching the Mounting Anger. Spreading Flames eats a 3 block. We can follow this up with our Blaze Headlong, see what Prism wants to give us on blocks, see what she can give us on blocks. We know she has at least 2 auras in her deck between Ode and Arclight Sentinel. There may be more non-blocks, there may be Figments. Prism taking 2 down to 1. we will go for the guaranteed kill here by activating FaB to grab our Phoenix Flame, pitching the Phoenix Flame to Furnace, and using 2 floating resources to attack with Ember Blade for 4. If Prism is holding a 3-block here, she loses. If Prism is holding a defense reaction here, she would have used it on the Blaze Headlong. But you can be confident that whatever is in Prism's hand will not block 4, and we take the win. So we do win, despite Prism's bug potentially affecting the outcome of the game. Again, I can't speak to that. I don't know if it was better or worse for her to have 2 angels on the board at the same time. Some ugly play on my part to try and work around an Arc-Light Sentinel. That is absolutely something I will need to work on. I don't run into a lot of Prisms. I would like to run into more of them. I think she has the potential to be a very strong deck once Lexi leaves the format. We have seen old Prism be oppressive in previous metas. I have no doubt that new Prism will be equally oppressive in her own way. But overall, that is how we want to play against Prisms. Deal more damage than they can prevent, deal more damage than they can block. Use our Mask of the Pouncing Lynx as a get-out-of-jail-free button. If we become overwhelmed by Spectral Shields and Angels, we can force her to need to block a 6-damage, unpreventable Lava Burst or Salt the Wound. And if she can't, then we just eat the ward. So that's the game. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you want to support me, if you enjoy watching FaB gameplay, please make sure to subscribe. These videos will pop up in your feed every day. It does a lot to help me. It does a lot to grow the channel. If you would like to engage, if you have questions about the game, about my deck, about potential misplays you saw, leave a comment. And please like the video if you liked it. I hope you did. I will see you all back here tomorrow for some more FaB gameplay, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.